everybody, welcome back. So this is the passenger side cylinder head and exhaust manifold off of my 67 390 Mustang, and I would like to leave the exhaust manifold attached. It makes it a little bit heavier and a little bit more awkward to work with, but it's not leaking, and I just don't want to take a chance of introducing any leaks into it, breaking bolts off, having those kind of issues. So if I can just leave it on there, I think I'll be ahead of the game. So in the engine, I had 0 compression in this cylinder. And what did I have on this one? 50, and I think these two were at 110. So this one absolutely was not firing. And at 50, I don't think 50 PSI is enough to allow it to have a combustion. So I'm going to have to figure it out. Looking at the valves now, if anything was bent, I would see it. One side of the valve would be higher than the other. So I think at this point in time, I'm suspecting to find a valve that is, how can I put it? The stem has been sludged up enough that it just is taking so much effort to move it that the spring can't return it in time for combustion. And not sure what's going on with this one, but I'm going to get it all cleaned up with a wire wheel, and then I am going to pop the valves out one at a time and have a look at them. And so let me get it cleaned up first. A little break from the action. A year ago, I had 3 angle grinders, and today my last one died. That was this Hart battery-powered one. And yeah, I've given the thing, definitely given it a beating. So I'm not shocked that it finally died. They are light-duty tools, and that's not how I've been treating it. I took it apart to check the switch, and the switch is good, but there's no power going to the motor. Tried multiple batteries, and you know what? I just don't have the time to fuck with it. So I just drove down to the nearest Harbor Freight, which isn't very far from me, and I picked up a corded Bauer because these things just eat batteries. And I don't want to deal with the battery right now. So I picked up this 8 amp, 11,000 RPM trigger switch grinder, and that's what I'm going to go with for a while. I'll let you know how much I like it. And it was only 34 bucks, and I had a $5 coupon, so there you go. All right, the wire brush made quick work of the majority of the carbon in there, and that is good enough for me. So I'm going to pop these 2 valves out. I've got a valve spring compressor here. I used to have one of the big C-clamp style compressors, but I hadn't used any of my engine rebuilding stuff for years and years. And when a friend of mine said to me, hey, I got 4 or 5 engines to rebuild, can I borrow your tools? I said, come around and take what you want, because I'm never going to use it again. I mean, even the engine I put in the CJ7, I just went and bought a long block. It was my intention never ever do any kind of this work again, but here I am, and they're now like 150 miles from me, and it's not worth driving. If I need the big C-clamp style valve spring compressor, I'll just go buy one. They're not that expensive. All right, I have that spring completely off of there. That valve should move easily, and it does not move at all by hand. Let's tap that out of there and see what happens. Yeah, it's supposed to move a bit easier than that. Let's take a look. Wow. There. There we go. So yeah, that's supposed to move a bit easier than that. Now, is it bent? Let's find out. That valve is not bent. Let's look at the seat. Wow, that is gummed up, huh? That is really gummed up. I got some seafoam spray. I'm just going to kind of spray it and wipe it out. Let me clean the back and stem of this valve up a bit. I haven't even cleaned that up very much. I just sprayed the stem with seafoam and wiped it down and sprayed the guide. And that's the difference right there. That's why that wasn't seating. But I'm going to still get that cleaned up, get some ink on it, and spin it, and make sure I have a seat there. But I don't see a problem with it. It was just stuck. Let's take a look in the exhaust in that cylinder too. It's bouncing up and down okay, but you know what? Let's just take a look at it. Now I'm kind of interested in all of them. Here is brake clean. Let's clean it off with brake parts cleaner. Let's put some more red dye on it. I've already been out working on other stuff today and I'm kind of tired. So let's try getting my ring of dye around it again. And while that's drying, I'll clean the valve up. But I don't think there's a problem. I think this valve stuck when it was shut, and that's why the push rod bent. Let's see if I can spin it by hand. I can spin it by hand a little bit now. Let's get it out and have a look. All right, look at that. I have my red dye is worn off. I don't know if you can see it. My red dye is worn off all the way around. So that valve is not bent. Nothing wrong with that seat. I am happy. So for sport and amusement, I took the exhaust valve in that cylinder out and I cleaned it up a little bit with some sea foam and some Scotch-Brite, and I'm not really seeing anything there that alarms me in any way. It's a high mileage engine. I mean, that's just how it is. So I think I'm going to go just do all of them, pop them all out and just have a look at them. Might as well, it's out. Here's the next exhaust valve back, and the seat looks perfectly fine. So here is the intake on that side. There's the valve. This was after very minimal cleanup. Perfectly fine. Slides right back in, moves easily. No issues there at all. Here's the second exhaust valve from the front, and its seat looks perfectly acceptable to me for the amount of miles it has on it. Here's the valve. Again, I have cleaned it up a little bit. Next two valves, I'll show you what they look like in the combustion chamber. And this is the other one. This one here is another one that was low. And if you can see it, I don't know if you can see it, but right there is the Ford stamp into the back of the valve. So I said I would show the valve in the chamber before I cleaned it up. And here it is here. You can see I hope you can see anyway. It is pretty grody. Here's the valve. I just spray them with sea foam and clean them a little bit. So I'm going to do that now and I'll show them to you when they're done being cleaned. Since this was one of the cylinders with the low compression, I'm going to do the same thing again with the red ink on the seat and the valve, just to kind of make sure that I don't have anything funny going on. I just spun this around on its seat with the ink on it, and I'm not seeing anything that suggests I've got a problem with this intake valve or seat. Okay, here is the exhaust seat before I have cleaned anything up, and here's the exhaust valve before I have cleaned it up. I did the red dye treatment here too on the valve and the seat, and I'm just not seeing anything that makes me think this valve wouldn't let the cylinder build compression. For those of you that are interested in the numbers on these heads, I see a FOMO CO DIF here, C7AE-A right there, and back here I see a 5 and then an E kind of turned to one side, and those are the numbers I see on it. So there you go. That is the entire passenger head. All the valves pulled out, the valves cleaned, the seats cleaned, everything checked, everything looks good and put back together. And I have all the gasket surfaces cleaned as well. A couple of questions on my mind right now. None of them are really about this head. I think this head is fine. But do I pull the other head off? Part of me, the part of me that wants to do everything as diligently as possible says I ought to. But also the part of me that realizes these things can be a rabbit hole and that you shouldn't go any further down them than you absolutely have to achieve your goals says, what are you thinking? There is compression on the other side and it's even. So I don't have a problem with the valves or the seats on the other side. They're just going to look like this one looked like before I cleaned everything up. So is it worth it to pull it apart, just clean everything up and put it back together again? I don't know. I don't have any gaskets or anything for this yet, so it's going to be a while before I can put it back together. So I'm going to post this. You guys let me know down below what you think I should do. And yes, you can say things like, I'd put an LS in it. You say those things if you want. That's not going to happen with this. We're going to stay with the 390. And no, it's not going to be torn out and sent to a machine shop for $2,000 worth of engine work either. We're on a shoestring here, so we're doing our best with what we can do. The question is, and here's what I'm thinking about doing right now. I'm thinking about getting a gasket set, and I'm probably going to have to buy a full set, putting this head back on, putting the rockers back on, running a compression test. And if I've got 110 up and down, I'm going to leave the other head alone, because that's what the other head is. I mean, I think one of them was 105 or something like that. I don't know. But it's 100 to 110. If this side, I put this back on, and this side runs 140, then I think I'm going to have to pull the other head off. Anyway, I think I'm going to stop here for now and post this video, and because I want to just sit and think about this one for a while. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed my, I won't call it misery. This wasn't misery at all, pulling this off and taking the valves out. Kind of reminded me of my old high school auto shop days and hot rodder days, shade tree type hot rodder days. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave me a comment below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.